Greetings, friends and followers. This is Nurses Talking, and I am Del Barzi. As always, if you like what you see and hear, subscribe, leave us a comment, and let us know what you think. Here at Nurses Talking, we speak to nurses anywhere in the world and at any stage in their nursing journey. And today, it is my great pleasure to welcome Anastasia Perch out of Paris, France. First of all, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very
And
much.
typically, I start by asking people, why are they nurses? So
Yeah.
actually, I will ask you that first. Why are you a nurse? What brought
Yeah.
you here?
I love that question because for me, I feel like my whole nursing career has been a bit non-traditional, and that includes the start. So I began actually before my nursing career. The reason I wanted to get into nursing was because I started as a surgical technologist in the operating room.
Okay.
And so, yeah, and this was interesting because I am a twin sister, and my twin sister and I decided to do the same thing after historically not really doing the same thing. And so we both kind of went in this direction. And it wasn't until we were in the operating room that we discovered, oh, I didn't know nurses can do this. So we made this discovery very early on because it was a 2 year associates program. We had clinicals within the second semester, like starting in the second semester, and also the creator of our program was also a nurse, and she had been a surg tech before, but she was very much like, the way she designed the program was she knew that a lot of students would start in this field but then likely want to transition into nursing. So
Hmm.
she had designed the program well so that we could make that transition after if we wanted to. And it turns out we did. I mean, it was like we had this light bulb moment, and we worked as surgical technologists for about a year full time before going back for our nursing program. But that was really, I think, the biggest thing because we had a nurse in our family and never really had too much interest until we
Yeah.
saw, oh, nurses can do this.
Yes. So I have two questions from that. One,
Yeah.
did you and your sister work in the same OR?
We did. So there were only a handful of times where we actually worked together, as like one of us was a circulating nurse and one of us was a scrub nurse. But
Yeah.
mostly we worked separately, and like I worked a lot in orthopedics. She worked a lot in oral maxillofacial. So we had kind of our own separate thing going on there. But I
Mhm.
mean, we would drive to and from work together. We could talk in the car on the way there and on the way back, and we really had like such a built-in support system that I think made all the difference in deciding to do this, number one. But then going back to school, we were like, well, we're both doing it, and then we were just there for each other the whole time.
That's awesome. That
Thank
is,
you.
as you said, a built-in support system. Not a lot of people have that close,
Yeah.
a support system. They
Yeah.
do have support systems typically outside a mother or father, siblings, whatever, who will say, "Yeah, go for what you want to do," but they're not doing it with you. So that's
Yes.
awesome.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
awesome. So you had someone in your family who was a nurse.
Yeah.
You had a different view of what nurses do, and now you're doing it with your sister. But what challenged you then?
Yeah. Well, something that comes to mind is the fact that, I mean, nursing school is challenging. I don't think that's news to anybody, but what we were learning in school, obviously we knew was a foundation, and that we had clinicals in all these different areas, but you really don't learn much about operating room nursing in school. Like,
Yes.
if you're lucky, you might have one day of clinicals
Mm-hmm.
where you go and observe. Although I've heard of some programs more recently having
Hmm.
building this into their curriculum.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case for us. But the challenge was saying, like, okay, so the majority of what we're going to see in school and be exposed to, it wasn't something that we were intensely interested in. And we were like, but we have our, at the time I called it the light at the end of the tunnel, but it was actually like our bigger vision for what we wanted to
Yeah.
do. And I didn't have the language or the terminology to really understand that yet, like we didn't
Yes.
know anything about mindset work, but at the same
Mhm.
time, it's like that was what got us through the hardest times as well as having each other. But I think it was just this idea of like, well, we already know that there is something else, even if it seems really different from what we're doing right now, even if it seems really far away, like it is there and we will get there.
You'll get there and you'll get there. You'll get there. So did you spend all of your nursing life in the OR?
Yes, yes. So um well, yeah, until about 2 years ago when
Mhm.
I left entirely. But
Mhm.
the last like 3 4 years, well, I guess it's been 3 years since we got our nurse coach certification, and we
Mhm.
started doing our studies for that. It was a 7 month program, so little before that. But we still worked part-time in the OR, like right up until I left. So we, at the end of it, we were part-time, like part-time regular job, and then part-time entrepreneurs as we tried to juggle all the things. But yes, always OR. I mean, we definitely had our hands in all the pies of all the
Mhm.
committees, the quality, the informatics, the
Yes.
lean Six Sigma, clean up the
Yes.
storage rooms and the spaces and the
And
processes. Like, and so it was good because even though we were in this one area, we really felt like we got exposure to a lot of different things. And also, like, being there for a while, you end up, at least we did, because we were in a level one trauma center, academic
trauma.
medical center, doing a lot of teaching and mentoring. And so really in the operating room, wherever you're coming from, most of your learning is going to be on the job. So I
Mhm.
think that was something that we realized like right away, but also like we both really loved teaching and mentoring. And that was definitely something that like I feel like was like a through line of my whole story, realizing that I did enjoy the teaching and the mentorship part uh,
Yeah.
pretty early on.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that you got exposed to a lot of stuff because
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people see operating room nursing as very isolated, and it isn't.
Yes.
Not at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Although I have to admit, like in the whole conversation of who's a nurse? Are you only a nurse if you're at the bedside? Like you all these, I fitting in or feeling a little bit like an outsider has been, I think, a big part of my
Yeah.
story, because
Mhm.
in the operating room, obviously everybody else that's there, you feel normal. But even
Yes.
in comparison to other nurses, I mean, I remember I had um, like nursing professors in school saying like, oh, that's not really real nursing, like you should do something else first, like you can always go back there later. And I was like, I didn't listen to that. But I think it's like sometimes we have these opinions from outside, but then sometimes we have them from the inside, that
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
that like we, even within our peer groups, we're labeling and, maybe assigning value or not
Yeah. Or
to
not.
different
Yeah.
areas. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I'm going to go all the way back to what you
Yeah.
said in the beginning because you talked about staying connected to your big vision. So, what is
Yes.
your big
Yes.
vision?
Yeah. Well, right now, I have been in the midst of transition, I think, again. So I really had like started in business with this goal to use the knowledge and like experience and things that I learned about coaching and like motivational interviewing and behavior change to really like help people, help nurses. And that's not going away. But something that has really unfolded in the last couple of months is I've started to share my own story much more vulnerably. I think it's taken a couple of years of processing, of like leaving the bedside, all the changes that come with that, feeling like, okay, am I still a nurse? Am I not a nurse? Like being in France. And so starting to really write about it and share about it openly. I've just had like an incredible response from people. And I feel like part of it is the writing is like
Yes.
the medicine, but it's also this connection that we all have. And when people say that I wrote something that they felt but previously couldn't express in words, or they had felt too but thought they were the only one. I think like what is taking shape for me and what's really evolving here is like the power of the telling of the story as something healing and
Yes.
also like just very transformational. And I know, like that there are nurses out there that are wanting to pour this out. And I feel like I would love to have that really be part of something that I do with nurses, like in a group space, like that could just be something so powerful like that, because I'm seeing so much. For me, like it was vulnerable, but once I started really sharing those pieces and parts and stories, it's really been amazing to see the response.
Oh, Anastasia, what do you think though you'd like to see change about nursing?
Yeah, well, I think that, and one of the things that even that we'd mentioned in this conversation, I'd love to see us change what we think is possible, and also um, just like more of an openness, like where we were talking about why do we have this conversation about who's a nurse and who's not in the
Yes.
first place,
Yes.
and also just like in terms of that inner work piece, um, taking back our power as nurses, not just in a professional sense, but in our personal lives as well. And really, like, when we talk about boundaries, it can be something like, okay, we've heard a lot about this, but, like the idea that we really have more power than we think, um, to do the things that we want, but a lot of times we just like stay stuck because of these habits and patterns and like conditioning that we've had maybe ever since nursing school, and then we
Yes.
just we just bring that with us. We project, we like, kind of like feel like victims. I would love it for that to change.
And it would, but how do you think though we're gonna get that change? Because as you just said, you mentioned the word conditioning.
Yeah, I was
Mhm.
just having a conversation. Well, I've had a lot of conversations about this recently, but we were talking about just like life skills and things that nobody teaches us, and why is
Yes.
that? And maybe we can't change the whole world, but I mean, like, goodness, if we knew like a fraction of this stuff when we were students or new grads or at any of these like touch points in our careers, I really think that for a lot of people, things could just be so different and so much better. It's
Yeah.
like, why do we have to learn these things? Why do we have to wait until, we have some really big life circumstance, or maybe we just happen to meet the right person, or we just happen to hear the right podcast with somebody who's talking about this? I feel like this should be like fundamental with education.
Yeah, exactly. With education, I was about to say that I don't think that's not really even unique to nursing per se.
Yeah,
Nursing
yeah.
reinforces it, but it's not really unique to nursing. Our whole education system seems to condition you to be within boxes.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
hmm
definitely.
So you're an entrepreneur. First of all, you're an
Yes.
entrepreneur. You transitioned from nursing to well, I shouldn't say transition, but you've encapsulated entrepreneurship in your whole nursing under your nursing umbrella, and also you moved countries.
Yes, yes.
So, first of all, I want to know what kind of nursing skills you
Oh,
think
yeah.
helped you in your entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah. Well, I think the interesting thing is that with entrepreneurship, I mean, like I feel like everybody says the same thing. It's the biggest like test isn't the right word, but of your personal development that ever
Yes.
could be. And so I think like the nursing skills that I had, um, actually the nurse coaching is what
hmm
really I think was the biggest help. But if we want to talk about more, I don't know, technical skills, I think, thinking back to my more like typical part of my career, definitely like the appreciation for mentorship,
hmm
um, connecting with people. I also think that really like trying to be involved in different committees and hear different people's perspectives. And like in the OR, it's so interdisciplinary. So
hmm
we really have like a good opportunity to do that. And so I didn't ever do any of that thinking, oh, I'm going to, use this in entrepreneurship. But at the same time, I think just like broadening what you are exposed to, even if it doesn't have to mean like a formal position, it doesn't have to mean additional responsibility, but like just broadening that exposure to hear different, you know, to see different possibilities, hear different perspectives, like really opening yourself up.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, I had really great mentors when I was new, and I feel like those experiences, like everybody doesn't have that, but like I knew I wanted to be that for somebody else. So I
Yeah.
think that within what I learned in the OR, like those dynamics were just amazing. And also I think like in the operating room we have a lot of different personalities, and so
Mhm.
coordinating and managing conflict, and something I think that we take for granted in our nursing careers is writing, but we do more of it than we think. Like if you have, I mean, we all have to write incident reports. Maybe we are writing emails. Maybe we're, and that was an area where I didn't like. I realized, but I didn't know why, but I realized that I was like really good at that. People would ask me for help, with their incident reports
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
emails that were, going to senior leadership or something like that. And so I actually feel like nursing allowed me to have some real development of those skills. Um, and I think now, even though a lot of the writing that I do is more about reflection and, like opinion and sharing
Mhm.
collective experiences, um, like there's value in both. There's value in all of that, the technical, the evidence-based, the persuasive, but there's also value in writing that connects and
That.
helps us like share a story.
Yeah.
um, because I feel like the kind of peer group I have now is a lot was formed online with networking. Now that I'm in France,
Yeah.
it's taken a long time, but I finally feel like I sort of have a nursing peer group again.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So, what advice do you think you'd like to give someone who wants to be a nurse?
Yeah. What I would say is that the soft skills, like we were talking about before, like the soft skills, the life skills, emotional regulation, managing your stress, and really like learning about yourself and being clear on what you want, like those things are absolutely foundational to you, like taking them through the rest of your career and doing something really fulfilling. Like they're what will enable you to really take care of yourself, set those boundaries, but also know that like you have so many options out there. But what is going to enable you to like take advantage of those is having that sense of like personal
Hmm.
stability,
Hmm.
power, knowing how to manage your stress, being able to come back to yourself and have like yourself be a really safe home, and
Yeah.
you really supporting yourself is what's going to make you feel like you can do any of those things.
Yeah, yeah. And to actually know you can do it, because after a while you're looking back and you say, hey, you know what? I did this as a nurse at the bedside in the OR, wherever. Can do this.
Yes, yes, yes. And even if it feels like it, if you're new and you're just starting, it might, a lot of those bigger dreams and goals might feel far away,
Okay.
but like
Hmm.
they are what will get you through all the hard times.
Yeah. So you mentioned a couple of things. You talked about boundaries and all of that and mindset work. And so tell me, we talk about what do you do for self-care?
Yeah, for me. So what I do is I don't have like a perfect morning routine or anything like that, but what I try to do a little bit of each day is I try to do some basic breath work. I have an app that I love to use, anywhere between like 5 and 15 minutes. I try to do some sort of movement, so that could be like a gentle yoga, something like that, or a walk. and some type of mindfulness. So whether that is just kind of sitting and reflecting, or something that I listen to that's, like a guided, more of a guided experience. I think there's
Mm-hmm,
like value
mm-hmm,
and benefit in both, but
mm-hmm.
having those things, and then I also receive coaching, so I love like having my own thoughts challenged about things. I think that's been really key in helping me to see different possibilities rather than be closed off. But I think the daily things are the things that like anybody can do. There
Mm-hmm.
are more than enough like free resources out there, to create a routine that you love, that you can come back to, that makes you feel like you're at peace. And real quick, there's a book that I had read about managing stress, and it's called Stress Proof. And the author shares, she read like 1,000 research papers, on managing stress. And the one takeaway from her book that I've kept with me this whole time was that it's not the problem of having something be stressful, but it is bringing yourself back to baseline, like taking that opportunity to bring yourself back, even if you can't do it in the moment, if you can do it later. So, we don't have to put this pressure on ourselves or think that self care means we're going to be calm all the time or anything like that. But it's more about like having something where you can come back to this good place. And the
Yes,
same thing with our emotions as well.
yes.
So some people like I like to process through writing. So that's also been something. I don't know. I don't know if I actually do it every single day, but I do it a lot. So I
Mm-hmm,
feel like those are things like, and you take time and you discover what you like and what makes you really like feel good.
mm-hmm.
And that's the thing you'll stick with.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And as you mentioned, it doesn't have to be a big thing. The one thing that I find is that it really, the big things are great, but the things that really ground you or ground me are the
Yeah.
very little things
Yeah.
that I do.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree 100%. And I think that the irony of that is that when people are really, really feeling stuck, they completely underestimate what the small things can do. But like you said, it's actually the small things that
Yeah.
do the work and move the needle.
Yes.
Because, so like even if we're looking for something bigger, like just do the small thing and you will be amazed at what happens. You might not notice it in that moment, but over time it's like, compounding interest.
Yeah. It's compounding, and you get to recognize it as the thing you reach for first.
Yeah.
For me, the thing I reach for first when things are kind of scattered, the thing I reach for first is I'm gonna make a cup of tea.
Oh, I love
And
that.
you know, and that was part of, I didn't even recognize that that was what I was doing until I recognized it, if you know what I mean. I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
did it.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
it occurred to me after I don't know how many years that wait, this is what grounds you first. This is
Ooh,
what
that's so good.
settles you first, and then you can go
Yeah.
think about everything else.
Wait, can we know like what's your go-to tea, or do you alternate? What?
Oh, I love tea. If you know, I love tea in all forms. But if I find that one of my favorite teas, I have two really very favorite teas.
Okay.
I like Earl Grey
Yeah.
and I like peppermint.
Oh, yes. Okay, I love peppermint.
So it's going to be one of those. And most often than not, if I'm feeling a little stressed, it's Earl Grey
Mhm.
followed by peppermint.
Oh, okay. So like a double tea for. Oh my gosh, that's great. That's great. Yeah.
Anastasia, thank you so much for this conversation. I
You're
really, really enjoyed
welcome.
having this conversation with you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so
Me
much.
too. Thank you.